Bob and I will be your host for the first of two live candidate conversations with the candidates for seats 1 and 2. On behalf of the St. John's Chamber of Commerce and its Politics in St. John series and the historic St. Augustine Area Council, I would like to thank everyone who is tuning in from their computer or mobile device to join us in the Chamber's first virtual City of St. Augustine candidate conversation of 2020. Before we get going and begin the discussion, I would like to outline the format for this afternoon's candidate conversations. The two candidates for City Commission Seat 1 are joining us remotely via Zoom from their individual locations. We will first hear from Commissioner Roxanne Horvath, and then we will hear from challenger Wade Ross. We will spend approximately a half hour with each candidate asking questions that have been submitted previously and those from the live audience. If you are watching the event live, use your chat button down at the bottom of the computer screen, and we will ask those questions as time permits. Chamber staff is hosting the Zoom event from behind the scenes, and the entire broadcast will be uploaded to their YouTube page shortly after we finish. So if you go to www.sjcchamber.com for the link. Without further delay, let's introduce the first candidate for City Commission Seat 1, Roxanne Horvath. Welcome, Commissioner, and please, at this moment, give us any opening remarks you may have.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm happy to be here this afternoon with everybody to answer some of the questions you might have about my campaign this year. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the city for 2 terms already. We've accomplished a lot in the 2 terms, but there's still a lot to do, and that's why I'm running again. Basically, that's it. So I'll answer more when you get the questions.
Well, that basically.
Wait, I'm sorry, Lori, but a lot of people might not know, but I have, next March will be my 30th year with my architectural practice here in the city. And a little more background is the many, many years I've spent on all the lower boards for the city. I've been on planning and zoning, historical architectural review board, code enforcement, a corridor review board, all before I decided to run for commission. And that was in 2012. So I have been on since then. And one of the major things I accomplished was our visioning process. It was over a year-long process with community input to help us develop our 4 pillars, which are livability, character, authenticity, and vitality. And all of our financial plans, all of our strategic work, all come back to those pillars. And I'll explain more through the questions that you give me.
Well, Ms. Roxanne, Commissioner, you have already answered my first 2 questions. What motivated you to run for office and what makes you the most qualified? So thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions that have been submitted. My first one is, since our city is so heavily dependent on the tourist industry, what ideas do you have for attracting other industries to our city? And how would you work with St. Johns County and the Chamber of Commerce to achieve this?
Well, I'd first like to compliment the Chamber and TDC and lots of the other people involved in attracting industry and advertising what we're all about. Certainly we're a culinary destination, we're a historical destination, and those are the tourists that we mostly try to get to come. Basically, it's a kind of a grown-up paradise that we live in. So we're trying to communicate that. We don't really have a lot of property for industry in the city. We don't have big tracts of land to attract people. The county would be the area that would be able to do that. Certainly, I remember when Tree of Life was down on Anastasia, and then they opened up their huge plant out by 95. So those kinds of tracts of lands and our properties are very, very expensive in the city. So we do have some industry like Solar Stick. I'm hoping they don't overgrow their location because they're right in the city now. But really, I think we're on the right direction for where we want to be. So that's kind of my answer to that.
Thank you. My next question is, the city recently adopted fees for short-term vacation rentals. What should the city's role be in regulating this industry? Should the fees be charged, become a new revenue source for the general fund, or be revenue neutral to cover only administrative costs?
Well, first of all, they can't be a revenue source. That's not permitted by the state. So they have to just be revenue neutral. And what our role in the city is, basically the traditional role is zoning. And so in order to accommodate these new rentals, we have started to try to control them through life and safety issues. Parking, which ties back to livability in the neighborhood, and safe ingress and egress from the building. Those are the kinds of things that we are most important to us, and also most important to architects, because that's what we deal with all the time. And so basically we have done the fee schedule based on a 1, 2, 3, 5 bedroom, and try to be as fair as possible to people, to only charge them what we absolutely have to in order to get a new, we have to get a new code enforcement person on, and they'll be doing all of this. So it's important, and I'm hoping that answered your question.
A lot of moving pieces to it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to change it up just a little bit. What is or should be the city's role in affordable workforce housing?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I was on the first baby steps that the county took into affordable housing, and that was the SHIP program, State Housing Initiative program, many years ago. And since then, I've been on the Northeast Regional Planning Council has an affordable board. We talk about it at the state level under the Florida Regional Council Association. So I'm pretty familiar with it. Our property, as I mentioned before, in the city is very, very expensive. I mean, a Lincolnville lot, a small lot is $150,000. When you start factoring in that, it's very difficult for people to actually build affordable housing. But the real housing authority is through the county. They have a housing authority, and we like to, partner with them as best we can on that. But we work with Bill Lazar's group. We're talking about trying to subsidize some property so that they can do 2 or 3 units within the city. But it really should be a county kind of issue. We do have affordable housing that just went in north of Winn-Dixie on Highway 1. Those large buildings, you remember there, they're apartments, and they're fairly affordable. But when you start, thinking about infilling in the city of St. Augustine, it's difficult. But we're doing our best to address that issue.
It's not one that's going to be solved anytime soon.
And it's throughout Florida. It's throughout the whole United States. I mean, it's hitting everybody. And we really do need to find a way to address this particularly with homelessness, and this COVID is triggering a lot of people being foreclosed on and such. Oop, I went out. My picture went out. Am I still on? Oh,
you're on.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you. There you are.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, so that was my answer.
Okay, well, talking about this this COVID situation, which is very fluid and it changes every day. What is your position on the city's recent action to withdraw the mandatory mask requirement? It seems like this decision now leaves the businesses to have to set an individual requirement and subject them to basically the wrath of the public.
Yeah, I was very happy that we had our mandate in place. I think we took the leadership on that. But just, was it last week or the week before, Governor DeSantis made a ruling that we cannot put that in place. We cannot enforce it. So it's coming from the top. I'm hoping he's going to reconsider that, particularly with schools opening and with bars opening. I'm really concerned that we're going to get another push on the COVID. There is a really good NPR article that you can go to Facebook and find on the governor that explains all of what this is about. So I would encourage people to look that up. But we can't do it at this point. I mean, it's out of our hands. And I'm just hopeful that he'll let home rule take over again. He's not a big supporter of home rule. Home rule is where we, as our city, can control our destiny and put certain rules in place that we feel are necessary and beneficial for the safety for our community. And what I really believe is that if we don't get this under control and we get it could drag out for another year, and it's not helping the economy, as everybody knows. So I'm just hopeful that people will let science rule and follow the direction, to cover their faces in public. But right now, we just can't do anything about it. So
it's like your hands are tied.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, are you in favor of the city going forward with the spring festivals in 2021?
I love those spring festivals. Yeah. I think they bring so much vitality to the city. A lot of them I would consider character kinds of things. And it's so important that we keep those things in our city, but we can't do it if COVID is at the high rates that they are right now. I mean, every time I look at the paper, it's another 2,500 people in the state, and so it all depends on where we are on this COVID problem. But I am in support of bringing it back as soon as we can.
Hey, Commissioner, I did get one question that came over the transom a few minutes ago, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because obviously somebody put a lot of thought into this. It says, Commissioner Horvath, you voted to repeal the PZB's denial of the Renaissance Hotel proposal now under construction, thereby granting the developer 50 permanent spaces in the city-owned downtown parking garage at taxpayers' expense. The parking garage has been reaching capacity on an increasingly frequent basis, which often creates traffic gridlock as visitors are left with no other options for parking within walking distance of downtown businesses. I would like to know what you have done since to mitigate the downtown parking deficiency that has been so challenging for both residents and local business owners.
Well, parking is an issue downtown, definitely. We are looking at long-term plans for another multimodal parking facility, actually a couple of locations. We're hoping one of them will be private-public partnership. But that'll be a little ways down the road. But we are very conscious of the problems that we're having downtown. It's really just particularly some of the events that come, and like Nights of Lights, which, those kinds of events generate the closing of the parking garage. But last I looked, most weekends we're not at capacity. So, it's a good fix at this time. It may not be the final fix, but we did the best we could on that. So hopefully that answers your person's question. That's kind of a surprise question, but thank you for it.
Bob, do you have any others, Bob?
Not right this second, but I'll still look. You still have some more to go, Lori?
Okay. Oh, she has more.
I see.
I do. What should the city's role or responsibility be with the sunny day flooding?
Okay. Well, this is one that we're all so familiar with. I mean, I have to schedule my meetings so I can get out of the house on certain days because I'm right on the water. But we feel the responsibility for keeping the community safe and livable. Part of the vision was to be livable, and it's not too livable if you have to drive through salty water. We have many mitigations that are under work, right now. There are some that have been completed, some that are currently under design, and I have all kinds of notes to talk to you about. But we're constantly looking for grants that will help us accomplish these goals that we have. We're looking at where our low points are throughout the bayfront, throughout the city, basically, because it's a problem throughout the city. We're trying to work towards a 7-foot cap so that we can both address some sea level rise and sunny day flooding. And one key thing is education, outreach, to get a buy-in from the community so that they know the importance of what we're doing. One of the major things we're doing is the Maria Sanchez Lake, and it will basically help the whole area from King Street at City Hall down to the Bay south, all the way south, and then from Martin Luther King east to the Bayfront. It will help that whole area drain. I mean, I know City Hall, I've been at many meetings where we get a deluge in a meeting and I have to walk to my car and it's up to my knees. So I know that whole area has to be addressed. And but we are actively working on it. And I feel very happy with the amount of grants that we've been able to get. And it's just something that won't be fixed overnight, but we're actively working on it. And that's a big interest of mine. I'm on Resiliency Florida, which is a state board, and I'm on Northeast Florida Regional Council, which is addressing it for the whole region of our 7 counties. And it's on everybody's thoughts or front of mind. And so feel assured we are definitely working on this one.
So it's at the forefront. Do you have any new public work projects that you would like to see undertaken during your term?
Well, it's a combination of, the seawalls I'm talking about, the living shorelines, maybe combination of both, those kinds of things, from mitigation to for resiliency. And then I mentioned I do want us to look into the future and see where we can do some parking that will support the tourists. We just cannot bring these people downtown, directly downtown. It just ties up our streets and, it makes it just not very livable for our community. So that is one thing that I'm hoping is going to be accomplished during my next term. And also, just as an architect, keeping an eye on the mass and scale. We have probably 3 large projects coming down the road. And I know my colleagues look to me when it comes to anything architectural, planning wise, traffic and all of those things. And so I'm hoping that I will be on the board so I can address these.
That's great.
Commissioner, we did get a couple of questions. Kind of, you mentioned tourism and bringing folks into the city. And one of the questions, and it's actually a couple of them, do you support the current tourist development plan that St. Johns County and obviously the city has input into that, considering that nearly 30% of all the bed tax dollars collected are now going towards beach renourishment?
Well, I know. I've been there. I've watched the commission on that issue. It is one of their strong beliefs that our beaches are moneymakers for the community. I even had a meeting. We had a meeting with them, the city commission, the county commission, and we tried to make the point that we could use some of those funds for help in, I mean, all those millions of people come to St. Augustine. And as our county grows, all the new people, 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. And a lot of them are coming to St. Johns County because of our schools. And so all of those people that are new residents want to come down and see the city. They want to get their relatives down to see the city. So we are the draw. And honestly, I think we should get more of that money to help with some of our infrastructure, our bathrooms, or the various things that we need. Parking would be helpful, but they control that, and we keep making the case, and hopefully they'll be listening to us sometime in the future, I'm hoping. So.
Just double checking to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Any other questions? Lori, did you have any more, or did we manage to actually get through all of them?
We actually managed to get through them all, but what I would like to ask, is there a specific message you would like to leave to your voters prior to the election?
Oh, gosh. Well, actually, I'm looking here, and there is one question that you asked or had on your sheet that you gave us. Do you have any specific ideas on how the recently vacated space in the plaza can be utilized?
Tackle it, girl, tackle it.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely tough. That was a hard, divisive decision that came down. But I think what we need to be looking at, it's going to take some time for us to heal as a community over that issue. But one idea that I had was to put an outreach to artists for a sculpture that could celebrate Florida's 200th year of being a state. And we became a state March 3rd of 1845. So 2045, we could celebrate that. And it would be something that could bring us all together, unite us, strengthen our country. Yeah, I mean, we're the oldest continuously occupied city. I think it would be a great thing for our country to have something like that in the oldest city. So that was one idea I did have, and I'd like to talk to our commission about that. And we have plenty of time. I won't be on the commission in 25 years, but I probably won't be anywhere, but it would be nice to get that started. But in closing, and I'm sure my time is almost up, I just would like to impress upon people that I do have the time and energy now to really lend my background, my skills, my experience to further the city goals that we've set up and to keep us on track. And it's not going to get any easier. We're going to get more and more people visiting us, so we have to plan ahead. We have to encourage smart growth. Look at a mix of building types, a diversity of housing types, transportation options. We need to get the neighborhood and community engaged in all of this. And I think with my background, I can do that. So I am hopeful that I get your vote. Hey. Oh, that's a problem. My phone's ringing.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to go on mute.
Well, on behalf of the chamber, I just want to thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us and taking part in this. We really appreciate it. We value your time. Thank you so much. And then viewers, we're going to take about a 30-minute
30-second break.
swap here. 30-second, sorry, 30 minutes be a little long. 30-second, and we'll get into the second part.
So stay with us.
We're there.
All right, modern technology works. Welcome back. Can you hear us?
Welcome. Can you hear us? Technical difficulties?
I got it.
All right.
I just had my
Well,
volume.
thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. My name is Lori Brandel, and I'm the chairperson for the St. Augustine Historic Council. And of course, I'm joined by Bob Porter.
Okay.
We all know Bob. And we're going to go ahead and, as we did with the viewers for the first half, we've got about a half hour worth of questions that we're going to be asking that have been submitted previously, and live audience ones as well. So, Mr. Ross, if you would like to give some opening remarks, we welcome them.
Sure. My name's Wade Ross. I'm a 25-year veteran teacher of Florida. I come from St. Augustine. I come to St. Augustine from Central Florida. I grew up in Cocoa, and I've never had the desire to run for any type of city office or political office in my life. However, I feel like the time is right for me to step up and use my skills as a teacher and a manager in the classroom with the City Commission and for our city. Real quick, I'm just running through the issues are basically public safety and sanitation. I want to see more transparency and accountability in city government. I would like to see the funding for the SAPD as well as training, and I am for body cameras as well. And finally, I would like to keep our history. I feel like history is very important for our city, and I would like to keep it where it's at if possible.
Perfect. Well, you basically answered my first couple of questions. What motivated you to run for the office and what makes you most qualified? So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions that were sent in, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
My first question, since our city is so heavily dependent on the tourist industry, what ideas do you have for attracting other industries to our city? And how would you work with St. Johns County and the Chamber of Commerce to achieve this?
Well, first, I would like to say that's probably the most difficult question that I have to answer because I come from a background in education. So a few things that I thought of, and the way I kind of thought about this in my mind, is we got to not only look towards the business, but we also have to be respectful of the resident. And I came up with a couple win-wins for our residents as well as businesses. One would be we have a parking and traffic problem. So if we work together with our trolley companies, we have two that are privately owned, but they're publicly used. Perhaps we could work some sort of situation where the citizen, the resident, could have a inexpensive pass, which would help to eliminate the traffic on our streets as well as the parking problems that we have downtown. So I feel like that would be a really good win-win. Additionally, I'm drawing a blank here. I had another one. I'm just picking it up.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
You can interject your second thought.
Well, that was my first thought. Oh, my second thought. I got it now. I'm a little nervous. I got to tell you again. This is Chamber of Commerce is not my typical affair, but I'm willing to learn. Yes, this will be my next educational endeavor, would be to learn more about business as a city commissioner. And I feel that we could work with the city commission, we could work with the Chamber of Commerce to find the gaps that are in our local economy or area, find the trades or the professions that are needed, and perhaps we could find a fill that gap with some sort of joint communication and recruitment. That was my second thought, and I'll probably remember a third later, but I'm sorry about that.
Please, you're no more nervous than I am. This is my first time doing this, so we're in the same boat together. We're just going to converse back and forth. I love it. I'm feeling a lot better.
Okay, well, we got the hard one out of the way. Let's go.
See, now it's downhill. It's nice and easy. So my next one is, the city has recently adopted fees for short-term vacation rentals. What should the city's role be in regulating the industry? Should the fees charged become a new revenue source for the general fund, or be revenue neutral to cover only administrative costs?
I feel that the city's role should be what the state allows. The fees that the city collects should be used to manage the regulations that are passed by the city commission on the short-term rentals. I feel like any additional monitoring that needs to be done should be done with our city code enforcement. And yes.
Okay, so changing it up a little bit. What is or should be the city's role in affordable workforce housing?
Yes, I feel like the city should have the developers set aside a parcel of the homes that they're creating for the essential workers or hospitality, first responders, teachers, etc. That they should be obligated to also build within a realm that is affordable to our everyday workers, so that they can live and work in this city.
Very important. What is your position on the city's recent action to withdraw the mandatory mask requirement? Seems that the decision now leaves the businesses to set individual requirements and subject them to the wrath of the public. What's your thought process?
Oh, I personally wear one when I don't feel comfortable or when I cannot socially distance, especially as a teacher. I'm wearing one quite often. However, the masks have been a very divisive issue. I feel that it should be allowed for the businesses to make that decision depending on how they stand on the COVID-19 issue, whether they want to have people wear masks or not. And at the same time, the residents and our visitors should be able to make that same choice, whether they want to frequent that business or not. I don't feel that the city should have a mask ordinance because it cannot uniformly enforce it.
Okay. So with that being said, do you favor the city going forward with the spring festivals for 2021?
Absolutely, I do. I feel we should move ahead and get back on track.
Okay, now changing it up a little bit more. What should the city's responsibility be with sunny day flooding?
Sunny day flooding. Yeah, first of all, I feel that the city should be keeping the drains clear and making sure the one-way or backflow valves are free of debris and constantly working properly. I believe that we should be updating drainage infrastructure in affected neighborhoods and that are first at risk of the flooding. We should be working with the federal and state officials for funding for these affected areas. And I think that we should also have a new seawall height for the new constructions or rehabilitation of old seawalls. I think there should be an ordinance or a mandate that determines a higher seawall level that would be designated by the city engineer.
Okay. So do you have any public work projects that you would like to see undertaken during your term, specifically that you're in?
Yes, I am in favor of, first of all, I feel like the city could use a good makeover. Not necessarily a total revision, but we should be keeping our public areas very clear and clean. During COVID, they were cleaned quite often. However, it appears that things have slackened. And I know factually before COVID came around, the downtown areas were filthy, and not necessarily just downtown, but other public areas around town. So I feel like they should be pressure washed on a regular basis. They should be clean. We should have our garbage emptied on a regular basis, and frequently, not just a regular basis, but as needed. I would like to see our public parks cleaned, especially the children's parks. I've seen that in the Project Swing Park near the parking garage. We have, it's not been cleaned in probably over 6 months, probably more like a year. But these places are areas where our visitors would go with their kids because it's very convenient and it's right there at the parking garage, which should be a draw. But we need the broken pieces of these parks fixed, and we should have these parks clean and sanitized, pressure washed on a regular basis. Another thing that the city can do would be to, in addition to cleaning the frequent areas, we need to have the panhandlers removed lawfully from these areas. And when crimes are committed or unlawful acts are committed, that there should be consequences to these crimes. It should be uniformly enforced for everybody. I believe that we're having a issue with panhandlers and also crime perpetrated by some of these panhandlers, and this is a problem for our visitors. I work in Clay County, and a lot of my coworkers who visit St. Augustine, they say, "Wade, what's going on downtown?" Or "I saw this," or "I saw that." This needs to be dealt with. Another thing that I feel that there should be some sort of line of communication, whether it's through the residents or through the visitors, that can, talk about what they're seeing or what's good or what needs to be corrected with our city. I know there's the one website. The name, like a travel website that you can post a lot of this, and I see a lot of people coming back and saying, "We're not coming back again because of we saw this, it's dirty or it's unsafe." So those are some things that I feel like they could be accomplished public work wise. Let me go one other place here along the bayfront. There's a lot for the visitor as well as the residents that could be done down there. We've got rusty chains that are a safety issue, whether it's this or possibly falling in or the chain breaking. But this is another safety issue. I'm very pro safety. My first goal in my classroom, my first demand is to have a safe working environment for my students. And I feel it should be the same way for the city residents as well as our visitors. Additionally, there's the septic to sewer project. That's one of the big public works that's been in the news lately. I would like to see that initiated and completed in a timely manner. And it seems like I have one more, and when it pops up, I'm sure I'll be mentioning it again.
Okay.
Mr. Ross, I do have one that came over the chat a little while ago. We asked Commissioner Horvath this question. What do you propose to alleviate the downtown parking shortage and subsequent traffic congestion, referring specifically to the shortage of public parking within walking distance of the downtown historic district, and not the overflow parking outside the downtown area for big festivals that require shuttle buses? Any thoughts on that?
One thought is possibly to have a additional facility built and have the city run it. I know there's huge problems in Lincolnville, and we are limited on space as well. So this is an ongoing issue. So possible a second parking garage that would benefit possibly the residents, which then might open up some street parking, or vice versa, some parking that we could dedicate towards the visitors of Lincolnville. And now that we're having a lot more restaurants there, vice versa, I probably should say have a parking garage for our guests and have our residents, utilize the street parking. But additionally, some sort of shuttle parking. Again, we could move back to our local trolley services, who could help transport with a to get our visitors and our guests within walking range of these areas.
Lori, how are we going on questions from your end?
I've got one more on my list that I have to ask. Do you have any additional ones, Bob?
I'm just looking. Why don't you go ahead and ask?
Okay, this is a loaded question. Do you have any specific ideas on how the recently vacated space in the plaza can be utilized?
That's my favorite question.
Okay. I saved it for last.
We went for the hard to the easy. Listen, yeah, that I believe, since we had a piece of our Civil War history pulled out of our plaza, I feel like we should replace it with a reunification sculpture of some sort. I think it should be similar to the obelisk that was taken out, but it should be a sculpture or a memorial to both sides of the Civil War, because not only did we have Southerners and people from St. Augustine fight for the Confederacy, but we also had Northerners who had left for the North to fight for the Union. So I think that could be an object of art that would remedy what is now missing. We need to include our Civil War history in our city plaza.
Okay. And Bob, do you have anything else?
I'm just looking to see. The only other question that I had come across, let me just pull it up, talking about the city's involvement with the county and their tourist development plan. Do you support the county's current tourist development plan and kind of the mix of where the dollars that are collected from the vet taxes, how those are distributed around the county, and specifically to both the city of St. Augustine and the city of St. Augustine Beach, which are obviously large attractors of tourists who come in, spend the night, and therefore pay the vet taxes. Recently, the county commission has started directing that the Tourist Development Council shift some of their funding away from some of the traditional marketing operations to beach renourishment and beach replenishment. I'm curious to hear what your views are on that.
Okay, before I attempt to answer you, let me turn that light back on because I'm at school and they automatically shut off.
Ah, okay.
There we go.
All
Let
right.
there be
Nothing like
light.
saving
All
a
right.
little power.
All right. Okay, I take it back. That is probably the most difficult question for me, because I'm not a sitting commissioner and that's one aspect that I haven't looked at. But in the time that I've spent learning what I can about the city as well as the county, I feel like the city and county need to work together jointly and come up with some solutions for both of our needs. And if I'm informed correctly, I feel like we could build a better relationship with each other. So with regards to the specifics of that item, I can't speak to, but I would certainly be able to research and learn about it and make a decision that hopefully all parties could move forward amicably with.
Very good. Well, thank you. That's all the questions that I have. Let me just check the chat box real quick and see if we've got any from our audience. And do not appear to. Lori, I'll turn it back over to you.
So, is there a specific message you would like to leave to voters prior to the election?
Yes, most definitely. In the past 4 years, I've been trying as a citizen to work with city government. I've made calls, I've sent emails, I've texted, but I, as a citizen, have not been acknowledged. I've gone to the city commission meetings, I get 3 minutes to speak, and my questions or comments or concerns go unanswered. And I have no outlet to have any type of representation for whatever I'm concerned about. So my plan, my thought, I would like to return the city government, or at least give you a commissioner who will be responsive to the needs of the citizen or the small groups of people who feel marginalized. So that's my plan, is I want to be a true representative, and I want to come up with a variety of avenues so that voices can be heard in the city of St. Augustine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That seems to be all the questions that we have. If there's anything else you would like to share before I end our first candidate conversation.
Okay. Are we going to have another?
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to see how they enjoyed this, because I thought it went very well.
Okay.
And
We will be definitely having one next week, actually Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 9:30 with Commissioner Leanna Freeman and Professor Barbara Wander for seat number 2.
Right. Yeah.
I had to think for a second for seat number 2. But this has been great. From my personal perspective, it's wonderful just to get, frankly, at the City Commission, the kind of attention that it deserves, and get the candidates an opportunity to get their message out to people. You are kind of what is known as down the ballot, and sometimes people don't work very hard to learn about who the candidates are. So we're hoping as the chamber to be able to do more of this in coming years, so that we can bring the candidates and their constituency together to ask questions that are on their minds that otherwise, you just can't reach that many people doing coffees at people's houses, or
Right.
doing small events. And this has been great, I think, for the chamber and for the business community to hear both you and Commissioner Horvath and what your visions are for the city. And I hope that we can continue this going forward. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity as well as the exposure, and let me know if you'd like to speak again.
Very good.
I also want to remind everybody that you will be able to see this entire presentation that we did at the Chamber's YouTube, because they're going to upload it very quickly to www.chambers.org. what is it? sjcchamber.com. So you'll be able to see the first half and see how you did on camera as well. And I want, on behalf of the chamber, I would like to thank you for joining us and giving of your time, because we respect your time and what you stand for, and all of our constituents out there that have watched as well. So thank you so much, and please try to join us on October 13th from 8:30 to 9:30. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
take
you,
care.
everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.